And one of the things that we do in forensics is work for a level of excellence. He competes against other community college students. And starting next week, it'll be against community college students from all over the country. And his category is, one of the things they look for is really cutting edge stuff. Things that are new, medical breakthroughs, technology. We're really forward looking in this event. What I'd like you to do, as you're a good listening audience for Joe, is he really would benefit from the tiniest little critical comment you can come up with. And if you don't like the word critical, think of the word wish. Gee, I wish Joe had, this, or I wish he had that. And then if you would share that with us as willingly and openly, certainly he loves hearing your compliments, but at this stage of the game, he really would love to hear your wishes. Okay? Thank you.
Everyone see? Awesome. Have you ever ruined an important document you absolutely needed? Folded it up, put it in your pocket, dropped it in the mud, sent it through the wash, crumbled it up, toward the edges, so by the time you're done with it, it looks like an unsightly snowflake cut up by a 6-year-old? What about us college kids running around lugging $500 and 600 pounds worth of textbooks? What if you could have a piece of paper that would never fade, crumble, or tear? What if college books could be reduced to half the price and weigh 5 times less? What if the fragile paper you are so used to were to become a thing of the past? Yes, it's true. Even such standard staples as pen and paper are subject to the technological transformation our generation is experiencing. To replace the beloved pen and paper is a new phenomenon known as what the July 17, 2007 CNN News article is calling the electronic paper revolution. According to the Xerox Innovation page, last access November 1st, 2008, electronic paper was first conceived in the 1970s by Xerox researcher Nick Sheridan. Electronic paper has many of the same qualities as regular paper. It's viewed in a reflective light, has a wide viewing angle, and it stores an image. According to Business Standard Online, February 13, 2008, the Chinese government will be supplying 165 million students with electronic paper readers, a significant endorsement of the technology. So, today, in order to better understand the promise and development of electronic paper, we will first unfold the history and science behind electronic paper. Second, we'll flip through the pages and peruse some applications. And lastly, we'll finish the chapter by looking at some of the disadvantages and advantages the electronic paper revolution has to offer. So what exactly is this revolution that has begun sweeping our country? Let us unfold the mystery surrounding electronic paper. Now, the technology behind electronic paper can best be explained by comparing it with a much more primitive device, the Etch-a-Sketch. Now remember back to when you had those fun little toys? You turn the knob and the pointer runs across the screen drawing black filaments to the surface, making it appear as if you're drawing a line. And now devices that use electronic paper are simply much more effective Etch-a-Sketches, only you no longer have to turn the knobs to create the image. The device is instructed to do so for you. Not to mention you don't have to shake it to start all over again. Now that you've seen the abstract, let's go to the full text version. Now according to a November 4, 2008 Smart Computing magazine issue, despite Nick Sheridan's pioneering work for Xerox, it seems that the Electronic Ink Corporation wrote the introduction to the emerging story of electronic paper when they created the first commercial product related to e-paper, an in-store sign that electronically changes messages to customers as they walk in through the door. Now, on their website, last access October 23, 2008, they explained how their invention uses a high-resolution black and white screen on a medium, the thinnest of which, a plastic film. Small gray spheres called microcapsules make each pixel black or white, much like the filaments in an Etch-a-Sketch. However, they differ because each microcapsule contains a clear fluid with black and white, positive and negative charged pigments within them. And first, the device using this technology will appear all black, but then a charge is pushed throughout the circuitry, pushing the correct colored pigments toward the visible screen, much like a magnet. The screen then appears as crisp and as clear as an actual and physical page, giving readers a friendly new experience to a very familiar environment. Remarkable features behind electronic paper is that it no longer requires backlighting. Currently, most display devices such as your cell phone or laptop have to be constantly lit up and refreshed in order to show the desired image. However, according to a June 27, 2007 CNET News article, Electronic paper uses the surrounding ambient light in your environment to reflect the image to you. Not only that, but it also no longer needs to be refreshed constantly. Once the microcapsules are pulled to one side of the screen or the other, they are frozen in place until the user decides to move on to the next image. And now that we've seen some of the science and history behind electronic paper, let's flip through the pages and peruse some applications, both current and future. Now, this very new electronic paper technology is already being used in many modern devices. Some cell phones, for instance, the Motorola Motophone. But perhaps the most well-known application are devices called electronic paper readers, like the Amazon Kindle and Sony Reader. These are devices that allow users to look at books, magazines, and newspapers all in a single device that displays the media using electronic paper. Now, these devices, about the size of a paperback book, can be compared to other mass media storage devices such as your iPod, only instead of holding all your pirated songs, they now hold many of your favorite books available to the public in electronic book formats. Steps forward within this industry incorporate touchscreen access, being used by a lesser known but more student-friendly e-reader, the iRex Iliad, described by Rutgers University as a flat pad that, besides functioning as an e-reader, also allows you to take handwritten notes and drawings and store them for later redisplay. In fact, they explain how this is possible in a new, more flexible electrophoretic paper. The idea behind this is that it uses the same technology behind your LCD television. It explains in its 2009 issue of The Economist, Bend Me, Shape Me Any Way You Want Me. Instead of being held between the two usual sheets of glass, it can now be held between two flexible partitions of plastic. The ink inside stays within, and you can roll it out and cut it up, just like a normal sheet of paper. The idea behind the same technology is being applied to many other newspapers, touting the very first mass production of electronic paper is the Esquire 2008 October 75th anniversary issue, which has electronic paper built into the cover, not only on the outside, but also on the inside. While this is only a small portion and a crude example of what electronic paper is, imagine by the 80th anniversary, the entire issue on a single sheet of film that has color and video. In fact, Sony has already begun working on a prototype of electronic paper that will display video footage. Now, this type of paper is already being used by the military and by the US government. The men in the field will receive maps and instructions from headquarters. They will magically appear on the screen. When they're done, they simply fold it up and put it back into their backpack like a regular sheet of paper. With the same technology, your newspaper could be completely changed to where a single sheet of film downloads your news every morning. Purdue University professor David Jane tells us that the Harry Potter version of the newspaper circulated in the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry could soon be a reality. The images will move across the page and talk to you as if you were watching the 5 o'clock news on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of film. Now, this particular use of electronic paper also wants to be used by the Army. They want to build it in to their soldiers' uniforms. The idea behind is that this lightweight and fairly indestructible material will replace the bulky, heavy, and metallic materials that they usually have to carry out into the field. And now that we've seen some of the amazing applications behind electronic paper, let us begin our final chapter, the disadvantages as well as the many advantages the electronic paper revolution has to offer. Now, as wonderful as this industry does sound, it does have its downfalls, as listed by many customers on consumer review sites, such as the Tiger Direct Technology Forum, last accessed November 14, 2008. Posts indicate that readers like the feel of actual pages in their hand and are partial to that new book smell. With the advent of electronic paper comes the loss of these physicalities. Also, with this technology comes a hefty price. Devices using electronic paper still cost quite a bit due to the high manufacturing cost and current low demand, with devices such as the Amazon Kindle going for $350. But it seems that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Perhaps one of the main reasons for the constant innovations within this industry is the ideology of going green. As we move toward a more environmentally conscious world, we are always looking for new ways to conserve things like trees. A CNET news article in 2006 explains that with the advent of devices such as electronic paper, we can cut back our use of trees and paper factories, reducing our draw upon natural power, as well as reducing pollution. Also, with this new technology, we can have bookshelves upon bookshelves of our favorite material, all in a single device that does not stray from the familiar paper look readers enjoy. And textbooks will soon be released in electronic book formats, which will greatly cut down the amount we will have to carry to class, as well as drastically reduce the price. And although prices are currently steep, as competition rises with demand and technology continually advances, they will start to drop more and more every day. So, today, we have peered into the development of electronic paper by first unfolding the history and science behind electronic paper. Second, we flipped through the pages and perused some applications. And lastly, we finished the chapter by looking at some of the disadvantages and advantages the electronic paper revolution has to offer. We can clearly see that this is a promising innovation. So instead of finding that rumpled and ripped piece of paper on your doorstep, you might soon find Harry Potter delivering your newspaper.